we have had the first time on the board, a 1:42.3 for Richie, and you can already see the sun's breaking through the clouds.
I will be back. I am just trying to make sure everything's good on my end once again here. All right. Back into the action. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with us. Unfortunate that we had the technical problem, but we are back to live racing. Yeah, we know the graphics are a little bit lower quality. That's what happens when we switch streams, Rutanius. Appreciate the lookout on that, my man. We'll get the audio fixed. Apparently, I'm a little bit loud.
We can get that fixed. There we are. But yeah, the sun already, Striff, and we're not even a third of the way through this session, is... I'm just going straight through and... Well, the rain still very present in the closing pits of Sector 3. The cloud coverage really just pops in down the long back straight. Milan right now tackling the hairpin as he comes through the final corner. See where he lands himself.
142.8. Very nice time for Milan. Looking for gap to leader right now. Gap to leader on this board, just on the intermediate compound tires right now, from first down to 10th position is only a second. Make that from first down to 11th position. So who was that crossed the line? It was Vexit that just put in a time. Crossing 8th quickest here thus far, a 42.619. Freeware provisional pole for him.
Yeah, well, there's Dougie Falcon's going to go knock that one out of the park at 141.9, but it looks like the rain is stopping. I don't know if it's stopped everywhere out on track. It's still very much a wet circuit down into this hairpin. It's just, you can see the spray still coming off of Tim's car and the Red Bull behind him, which I do believe is Microlander, who's currently situated in P11. But here comes the second of the two Haas cars. Milan in 10th place. Tim just a little bit behind, 143.1, and Microlander, speaking of the devil, just hopped himself into a 142.4 to really close up that fight for those top flight positions.
Yeah, things are starting to get very tight in the top 10 right now. The top 5 is separated by less than 3/10. The top 5 right now. The front row is separated by 0.08 of a second, just shy of a tenth, and it's starting to shape up quite well already just on these intermediates. We haven't even seen drivers get onto the dries yet.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be something we do see, though, because, well, you can already see it. This first sector, there's a little bit of spray coming off, but there's no, visible standing water. There's just that last little bit on the track, and if everyone could just tell us if Striff, he should be a little bit quieter than he was before, but just confirm that for us. But yeah, a little blowtail right now, flying through Sector 2. His teammate, Alex Biddo, not too far behind him as well. Coming down towards turn 11. A sort of tight left-hander where we saw a couple of strong moves yesterday, and it's a tricky place to overtake, but you can get a move just up the inside as Blowtel struggling for grip on the exit of turn 13. Difficulty at the best of times, but on these changeable conditions where we're just on the cusp of dries being that beneficial tyre, and you can see Blowtel's ditched the lap. See, Alex Meadow still going strong, but Dayson is out on the soft compounder tyres, and we'll have to see where the Alfa Romeo can slot himself on this grid.
Yeah, a few drivers opting to jump onto those softs now. You can see Yoda, Valu, Milan, as well as Vexit all switching onto those, as well as Freeware in the pit lane. You can see them starting to come online in the timing tower now. And as we look at these drivers further down the timing order, Biddo, Blotel, both into the pit lane. They're not even going to bother with these inters anymore. They need to get out there and they need to get some laps in. Dason is going to be realistically the first driver to set a time on these softs. And, well, we're just going to have to figure out what that time is going to be. He will be the first domino to come down.
Yeah, and these first 10 minutes of this session won't have been too useful to determine what this qualifying grid is going to be like. You can see where everyone's stacked up after those 15 intermediate runs we got, but it's all going to be what happens in these closing 8 minutes, because dries are going to be king around here. You can already see that Dason just having no problems as he comes through the final sector, and there's no spray coming off of those tyres. The track has just dried up so quickly, and here goes the Alfa Romeo for his first flying lap on the soft compound tyre.
Number 34, Alfa Romeo, coming through that first sector now. He's got Yoda just ahead of him, who's on his outlap. Some traffic there. The two Williams are rolling through. And we'll see if they pick up the fact that Mr. Dason is flying here. Dason, of course, who'd have thought otherwise, purple through sector 1 here. Brownie, Yoda jumping off the rear of Brownie there to get out of the way. And Brownie does the same.
Both Williams making sure that they don't impede the Alfa Romeo's lap, and it's brilliant to see both very close together, as well as Dason gets a bit of a slide out of the rear going, and well, I think he just tried to invalidate his lap there so he could come in, but not quite sure what his plan is. He's still got ERS in full utilization, so he could go and round out this lap anyway despite the mistake, but there is the invalidation coming out of turn 13, and we're not going to see him set the first flying lap on the softs. I think Vexit might be the next one.
Vexit right now in the racing point. He is just about to enter sector 3 right now. A couple of other drivers who are potentially about to start flying here are Brownie and Yoda. Both Williams. It doesn't look like they're going to have any tow tactics to get laps started. They'll maybe just tow each other along through the lap. I'm not entirely sure what the tactic is, but they're starting these laps fairly close together here. Vexit now onto the long back straight here of sector 3. DRS wide open on that rear wing. 142.619 is the time he is looking to improve on. His first time, of course, being set on those intermediate compound tires. We have not yet had a lap time on the fresh softs, but Vexit will be the first to do so. What's it going to be? There it is, pole position, a 30.370. Who'd have thought otherwise? But will it stand? That is provisional pole for the time being.
Well, Brownie's already invalidated his lap. Freeway right now, he's flying, and he's 7.6 seconds up, and well, that just goes to show how much time these guys get from running in the dries rather than the wets. And Freeway down into the hairpin in the AlphaTauri. What can he do? His teammate Shanghai just behind, so both our Ataris will be gunning for these top spots, both in the top 6 right now in the standings. They're third. Milan goes fastest. Freeway actually ditches the lap just a little bit. Shanghai at 129.1. 7/10 quicker. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Freeway hop onto some mediums, given the way he just broke at the line there.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers, they're wanting to get onto those harder compound tires. The softs around China, they don't last very long. They degrade so quick. As we've seen all week, the softs are just not a super good tire around here. But everybody's getting out onto them just to get a little bit of a dry run in. Was that the right call? I don't know. But the times are starting to come through. The top 5 have all set their times on softs now. Shanghai, Freeware, Milan, Vexit, Yoda. Brainstew's coming through to the line as well. He's in the Alfa Romeo. He jumps into the front row. The Italian. Nicely done from him.
Speaking of Vexit, he's just given his teammate Sundaku a nice little tow down the back straight, and that's going to put him straight into P2, 129.2. Just within reach of Shanghai, but not quite able to grab him. He's still up there in that provisional pole spot, and I'm wondering whether AlphaTauri here gonna cover both strategies, gonna get one driver up there on the softs and then see what Freeway can do on the mediums.
Alex Biddo, purple through sector 2 now. He's on the softs as well, having a little bit of a struggle coming out of the roundabout section into the long straight. Sun starting to really break out now. You can see it really, really well coming through this long back straight. And it'll be Alex Bitto into the hairpin here. He has that fuel light on, and I wonder if he'll come into the pit lane here to just maybe go on to a set of mediums. The clock is starting to really come down here. Yeah, straight into the pit lane for the Spaniard.
Yeah, a few people cutting it close. Fraser's just crossed the line, but I don't know whether he's planning to come back out on mediums, because it sure looks like he sort of threw the lap at the end there. He also went super deep into the hairpin. Sindaku apparently, according to the game, on another flat on these softs, so maybe it got the outlap glitch there for the racing point. But there's a McLaren, it's Dougie Falcons going into the hairpin. I'm pretty sure he's on an in-lap. And I think he might have just struggled there to get out of the way of Sindaku, who is flying, and he's going to change straight back into the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what to make of that. So many drivers on this timing tower now are on the move for outlaps here. Vexit, Microlander, Paris is also on the move. In the Ferrari, we have Domi, Richie. I believe they have both just somewhat begun their laps here. Domi a little bit further ahead of the McLaren will jump on with the Ferrari for the time being. Domi currently a 42.357 on the board. Done so on the intermediate compound tires. Drivers 9 down through 16 have yet to get times in on dries. Only the top 8 have qualified on the softs. The remainder are on the intermediates.
Yeah, Domi on these mediums. I want to see where he can put himself, because this is just going to be a full push lap. He'll want to get this one in the bag and put himself as high on this timing tower as possible. Shenji's coming back out on soft, as is Brainstew, so those guys locking in that soft strategy. Milano and Vexit as well, Brownie too, so a few guys committing to the softs here in qualifying. Freeware's on the medium, so AlphaTauri are doing what I suspected. They are going to cover both strategies, but how competitive are the mediums going to be? We can see Domi now just charging down this long back straight. DRS wide open on the Ferrari, down into the hairpin. A little bit of a lock-up. I think he just about missed his braking point and manages to recover it quite nicely, though. He's got time for one more.
A lot of those soft runners, you know, we saw Freeware do it most especially, aborting those times. Here we have Domi. He's just slaughtered himself into 7th position with a nice 30.4 on those mediums. Richie jumps ahead, a 30 flat on the mediums, a 0.33 out of him. Medium runners in the top 10 is dangerous because the soft runners are going to have to come in earlier. Microlander really hammering those softs. Hits a 29 flat.
Yeah, Shenji's just started his lap, so we'll see if he can beat that, get into those 128s maybe. Paris right now, the other Ferrari, also on the mediums, just like his teammate, going across the line. He goes into P5 on the mediums. That is a very, very strong time from last week's race winner, so that's definitely one that all the other drivers are going to have their eyes on. Shenji, meanwhile, already up a 10th through Sector 1. The AlphaTauri driver looking very, very strong. Sindaku crosses the line to be one of the first to catch the flag. He's in P3.
What an intense session this has been. You know, whenever that rain dynamic comes through, I think it really shakes you up, is how I'd explain that. Shenji now. Purple through Sector 2.
Yeah, so far this has been a super, super strong lap from this AlphaTauri. And no team dynamics between the two, given that time constraint that's been put on everyone here. I think a few of these drivers would have gone for a few more slipstreams. I think the Renaults might be trying it, or might have just tried it, as they both crossed the line. ZZ9 in 11th place, Fraser in 13th, but it's Shenji coming through the final corner. What is it going to be? A 129 flat to beat a 129 flat. He just about edges himself in front, but Bitto, a 128.9. There goes Tim into 4th place. His teammate Milan hops into 5th behind him. And a lot of late times coming flying in.
Who else can improve here? Brownie coming through 16 now. The Williams The German driver taking the flag. It is going to be 11th position. He's done that on the soft compound tire. He has done that on the soft compound tire here, Unicorn, and that could be absolutely crucial. That is it. That's the end of this session.
Yeah,
Brownie
Stew snuck into second as well.
Oh, this is a really big shakeup. Brownie qualified 11th on the softs. Everybody behind him on the mediums, which means they've put a little bit. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. If there's a safety car dynamic, Brownie's gonna have 2 fresh sets of mediums compared to some of these other medium runners. Oh man, I love these dynamics, man. When you get these intermediate conditions into the dry qualifying, everybody trying to get their time stamped down. Look at this. Let's take a look. Bido, Brainstew, Shenjay, your top 3. Oh, wow. This grid, man. There's pace just trapped, locked in little pockets all over the place.
Yeah, people really looking to try and find themselves on those mediums at the start, but there are the qualifying stats. And Striff, look at that gap for the top 5.
I'm nervous, man. I don't know how this first turn, everybody in the chat. Okay, this is what we always do, of course. Let us know in the chat what you want to see for safety cars. Of course, it is Alex Bido on pole position. Brainstew, the Italian, lining up next to him in the Alfa Romeo with Shenjay, the current reigning Tier 1 champion, lining up 3rd to round out the top 3. We have Microlander and Tim 4-5. We'll go down through the rest of this grid on the formation lap, but that separation in the top 10 right now is scary, especially around Shanghai.
Yeah, well, that top 5 being within a 10th, that is going to create one hell of a battle here. So, these drivers, this finishing grid as well, there's a lot of fast guys in and around those 10 through 15th spots on those medium tyres. You know, you mentioned it just a moment ago, the tyre strategy around here really plays a huge factor into how this race ends up, and we've seen it. We saw a huge performance from the medium tyres in Tier 3. Rutanius, I think 13 positions gained for the race win because he started on those mediums outside the top 10 and just pushed through everyone who started on the soft. So there is a lot, and I mean a lot of opportunity for positional gains. Even without safety cars, even without, you know, people ahead spinning, coming out off the track, it's anyone's race. It really is.
Yeah, it really is, for sure. For sure. If anything, we saw that yesterday when Henry went from 19th to 3rd position, serving a qualification ban, and he took a podium in that race. These races are tight, and when these dynamics come out to play, it is so wild to see when all that pace is locked in. We saw a very dynamic race with this Tier 1 grid last week in, of course, Vietnam. I imagine a race start like that making these drivers a little bit nervous. I know it's making me nervous. I don't know how you guys feel in the stream, but last week in Vietnam, we saw quite the unique race start, and we'll have to see how things play out here in Shanghai. We look at the tire strategies, things being said and done now. The top 10, the only driver in the top 10 on the medium compound tire is Paris. The rest are on softs. The remainder of the grid, 11th down through 20th, where Dougie sits in the rear, is on the harder compounds, only 2 of which are on the mediums. 3 out of 20 drivers opted for mediums in this race. The rest were on the softs, which they qualified on, and then the back 10 were on the hard. It is very interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm super surprised by the lack of the take-up on the mediums. Obviously, Paris into that top 10. Freewell, I think, said in the chat he just missed out on beating his time by 0.02 of a second, so we would have seen 4 had he managed to just beat that soft lap time he put in, but he broke just a little bit too late coming out of that final corner. But yeah, those guys on the mediums, I'm surprised there's not more of them, but Ace Ritchie in 12th, you know, sitting P2 in the standings right now. His championship rival Valu sat right behind him on the hard, so it'll be interesting to see which one of those two comes out on top, because it could see a change at the top of the drivers' standings. But it's Alex Bido on pole here. Brainstew behind him in the Alfa Romeo. AlphaTauri of Shenjay in 3rd. Microlander, Tim. Milan, his teammate, joins him on the 3rd row. Then the 2 Racing Points, Vexit and Sindaku, both in that top 10 as well. Paris on the mediums in 9th. Freeware rounds out the top 10. Then we have Brownie on the mediums. Ace Ritchie on the hards. Then Valu, the only other medium runner in this race. Then Dason, Domi, ZZ9, Blotel, Yoda, Fraser, and Dougie Falcons round out this grid, and they're all on the hard compound tyres, but it's going to be an absolutely crazy race. 3 different tyre strategies just on the starting compound alone, whether they choose to go hard mediums or maybe even push for a hard soft. All depends on what happens in this race, but everyone just about ready to get going here, Striff.
Yeah, the lights are about to come on here as we get the final car to grid here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in China. The lights are out, the drivers are away, and who's going to have the best launch? Microlander right now having a very good look at, well, who's this? It's already Shanghai. It's 3 wide coming down through the first turn. Oh, this is so intense. This is so intense coming through the first few turns. Is there anybody getting caught up? Everybody is so tight. There's no damage. There's no debris so far. This is what we want to see. We want to see clean racing like this, Unicorn, and nobody's been caught out massively just yet in this race start. We are racing here in Shanghai. There's overtaking happening all over this grid. Paris, Shanghai, the racing points are caught up in it. How are things on your end?
Yeah, well, Shanghai, not a brilliant start at all. Alex Bitter absolutely rocketed off the line in the Mercedes. Paris now looking around the outside of turn 8 on Shanghai, and I think he might just be able to find the move up the inside through 9. Coming now, it's a double left-hander. He's still got the inside, but Shanghai with the drive on those softs. Paris is not able to get that move, but Shanghai really struggling on this race start. Got sort of an inside and an outside car through turns 1 and 2, and that really just impeded his pace. Dougie Falcons and Dayson are exchanging down through this long right-hander, 12 into 13, and well, it looks like Dayson is just about going to come out on top here, but can Dougie Falcons find the drive down this huge straight and using a lot of overtake to get that move done on the Alfa Romeo, but the McLaren will find it.
Freeware, Valu, they're about to have an exchange into the hairpin. Valu getting that car positioned onto the inside. Freeware had a look, Valu saw it, and he wanted to close the door. Such tight racing we're seeing already, but one thing's for certain, the safety car has not come out on the opening lap. This is not a repeat of Hanoi, and I imagine the stewards are going to be thrilled about that. And I know I'm thrilled about that. Man, is Alex Bitto off to a great start here so far, though. He's got the Italian of Brainstew behind him, Microlander in third. He has the 2 Hasses of Tim and Milan following suit. Shenjay still under major threat from the medium runner. Paris is not waiting around.
It's time to have a little bit of a moment, but yeah, a very clean opening lap. A few positions swapped through the opening section, but already you're seeing a little bit of separation through the front drivers. Alex has got a gap to Brainstew. Brainstew's got a gap to Valu, and then the 2 passes as well. They're in a little bit of a world of their own. So everyone's just trying to break this DRS early, and the game's just said there that DRS is enabled. We are only on lap 2. It is a timing tower bug there, but Paris, he'll want to stay in that DRS range of Shenji with all of his power, because that is what's going to make this medium strategy really, really work for him.
Timing tower right now struggling to catch up with this racing as we come down this very long back straight. Bitto, well, this isn't something we've seen from him yet this season. He hasn't really been at the forefront of racing as we were familiar in season 3. He hasn't had the best start. Of course, we did not see him last week in Hanoi, taking the week off. I think he had some schooling or something to handle, but he's back and he's in good form so far. Right now, Brainstew collecting the fastest lap of this campaign on the rear of the Mercedes.
Speaking of Mercedes,
things are starting to... Blotel in 15th position.
He just had a real kick out of the rear that lost him the position to Domi through the final corner. He caught it and got it back on the inside of the track, but it's just the kind of thing that knocks your confidence over the course of a race. And losing a position at this stage to someone on the same strategy as you, that is, at this point, a finishing position if everything stays as it is. So he won't be best pleased with himself, and Dougie behind him having a few issues of his own, it would seem. But yeah, super, super unfortunate for the Spaniard.
Something to note, all the way down from 1st to 5th, the separation is about 4 seconds, 3-4 seconds. Tim, Milan, they're about a second away from one another. They're starting to build some kind of separation here. Shenji on the rear, Milan's under threat. But if you look down the remainder of this grid, everything is so tight, as we've seen Tier 1 already. Richie's had a big issue. He's had a snap. That McLaren is off circuit. What has happened now? A driver's been collected. Richie is in 19th position, and Dayson, the Alfa Romeo, is out of this race for a severe collision. Will this be a safety car deployment here on lap 3? Oh my!
Yeah,
Oh my!
there's a big exchange going on over the front as well. Shanghai and Paris both getting past Milan, I believe, in the Haas. Dason, like you said, out of the session. Not sure if lag played a role in that. Safety car not coming out right now, but there was a huge lag spike. I don't know if it was just on my end, but when those two cars did collide in sector
Hold the
2.
phone. Hold the phone while Paris is checking in on Shanghai right now. Through the inside, the Ferrari, the AlphaTauri, through the first sector. Paris, through the inside, gets the move done. Shanghai right now does not have an answer because he needs to deal with Milan in his rearview mirror, who's on the same tires. One thing to note, I had a little bit of a view of that incident coming into the third sector realistically. Out of the double left, it looked like Richie had some kind of snap. He went off circuit, and then the camera moved, and Dason was out of this race. So I have no idea what to say because I didn't see anything on this end after Richie spun.
You know, I do think someone in the chat just before that incident happened said Richie had damage, so I'm not sure if that played a role. You know, lack of downforce through that double left hand. They could have forced him wide, maybe onto the curb, maybe catching a spin there. And that's just sent him round, and Dason coming out of that double left-hander, a little bit limited visibility. Could have just seen him plough into the side of the McLaren, but very, very unfortunate for both drivers. You can see just how far Richie is behind, and it's a super difficult track to catch up on, especially a gap of 38 seconds.
Looking at Milan, he's really eyeing up that inside. He was on a supercharged run into the hairpin, utilizing a ton of battery. He is hunting down this Haas. Look at the gap, less than 3/10, and there goes Milan. Straight into the pit lane on the heels of Shanghai flying in. Who's joined them? Vexit.
Yeah, so a few drivers into the pit lane fairly early on, but you can't expect anything else out of these softs. They really do die out quickly. The front three have really closed up. Brainstew's caught Bido, and Microlander has caught him as well, and you've got to say that DRS probably a huge factor in this, because I don't think any of them broke it, as Brainstew just about struggles coming out of turn 6, and that's given Alex a little bit of breathing room. But these three really starting to tighten up, and Paris is catching Tim as well. That's for P4 just behind them, and that Ferrari on the mediums really hard charging to try and find his way up this grid and get himself into the podium positions before the pit window, Jeff.
Yeah, definitely. Brownie, another driver to talk about who's on these mediums. He started this race in 11th. He's now in 9th. He has Freeware between him and Valu ahead. Freeware on those softs potentially could be pitting very shortly here. Valu, as we say it, we're going to jump with him. He's going wheel to wheel with Sindako just ahead. He gets that move done, Valu, through the inside. Just behind them, we'll switch back because I have a funny feeling. Oh, just ahead. Yeah, Paris is moving on Tim, but I think Brownie might have a look at Freeware as well if Sindako doesn't go for a switchback. Things are very intense coming into this hairpin constantly here around Shanghai. Bido has blinked, so he has jumped into the pit lane here. Who will be joining him? Tim, Sindako, they're on the move into the pit lane as well.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised to see Sindaku come in, because Valu, it didn't look like Valu had any challenge coming through turn 13 to get that place off of the racing point. Sindaku, super wide, and just allowed the Red Bull to just use the additional traction that the mediums had at this stage of the race and claw it up the inside. Still, Brainstrew and Microlander lead this race on the starting start, and Freeware's still out as well. But they will presumably have to pit in a lap or so. Not too much life will be left in these soft tyres. And you can see as well how far that the soft starters have been thrust down as good. Alex Bido now from first all the way down to 13th, and we'll have to see where everyone ends up. Brownie on the rear of Freeware now, and he didn't get the move last time, but I think, well, if he doesn't get the move done into the hairpin, he will just get it based upon Freeware's pit strategy.
Yeah, well, the amount of time that Brownie's losing to Freeware, despite that fact that Freeware's on softs, it's not good right now. So he's going to have DRS, he's going to utilize that battery, and whether he knows Freeware is pitting or not, he needs to clear this car, and that's exactly what he's doing. Freeware is going to pit here, I think, no matter what. No matter what. There's a little bit of a tap into the rear of the Williams. It's going to unsettle Brownie a bit. Brains 2 and Microlander have both now blinked, and Paris is in the lead of this race. As we see Freeware, he's jumped in. And that'll be the last of the soft runners on this grid. Paris, Valu, Brownie, now your top 3. Domi is into 4th position here in the Ferrari. He is on the hards. He's under threat from Blotel, though. Blotel around the outside. Domi switching to that inside line. Really wanting that inside line through here. It's still wheel-to-wheel. Blotel not having it in that car just yet to make a move on the Ferrari. Decent exit for both drivers coming out of 4 now, and this is a drag race into the right-hander. Is Blotel going to look for the inside? He looked, but he didn't send it. And he has to be careful because he's got Dougie right behind him in that McLaren unicorn.
Yeah, patience really is a virtue, and you know, we've seen it all too many times. You just send it up the inside and there's not enough space, and it can either unsettle your car or the other person's car, or both in, you know, really terrible situations. So great to see a bit of patience coming out of Blotel here. He knows that there's a brilliant overtaking spot just around the next few corners, that long straight. There really isn't a lot you can do to defend it. You can get a switchback if, you know, the opposing driver does mess up the overtake. We've seen that a couple of times throughout the course of the last week, but here we go. ERS enabled, and it won't be long until DRS is enabled as well. And look at the speed coming out of turn 13 in this Mercedes. He absolutely breezes past the Ferrari. There's nothing Domi can do. And, well, Blotel, you can see how it's done correctly. There's just no response available for Domi. But now, coming on to the start-finish straight, there is another opportunity. DRS will be re-enabled, and this time it'll be in favour of the Scuderia. But a much harder overtake, just based on how much shorter the run down into turn 1 is compared to the run into 14. But yeah, Domi now down into 5th place, Blotel up into 4th.
Yeah, that was a very good exchange there between both drivers. Not a lot Domi could do, but it is now a turn of, a flip of the table, we'll say, because Domi has some cards in his pocket now as well. The only thing here with Blotel and Domi is that Blotel is expending less energy deployment in that car. You look at Dougie, he's about even with Blotel. Domi could be in trouble.
Yeah, ERS management, you can see people really just use it all down that straight, especially in the opening laps when there's no DRS. You may think, oh, well, if I use a bit of ERS now, I can get through on the only position, but that can hurt you a little bit in the later stages of the race. Meanwhile, behind them, Fraser and Yoda, these guys have been locked together. I don't think Fraser's tried to move yet on the Williams, but they've been close together, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fraser tried to move here with DRS. The Renault looking at the rear of the Williams, who is in between both of the Renault cars. ZZ9 in 7th. All of these guys on that hard starting strategy. You can see Blotel through Fraser. That's 4th through 9th. All on these starting hards.
Yeah, the position changes for Yoda and Fraser as well. 10 positions each for them. They started 20th and 19th on this grid.
Yeah, not going to get the
exchange. I think it was 18th and 19th. Excuse me.
Meanwhile, the battle for 4th raging on, but no exchanges. And Dougie Falcon's really sticking to the rear of Domi. He hasn't let off the pressure ever since Blotel made the move on the Ferrari. And Domi doing well to keep it in 5th, but he'll be wanting to try and get back past Blotel, but he's dropping off just a little bit to the Spaniard in the Mercedes ahead.
Well, one thing to note is that Valu, in the last lap, has taken out half a second on Paris ahead. Brownie is on a charge as well. He is in 3rd, and he is 1.5 on the rear of Valu. So if these 3 maintain that position on these mediums and they're able to carry good pace and maybe, who knows, even land themselves in a train once pit stops start coming through because of traffic, it's going to be such a fun race to the end if those 3 are just locked and loaded in a gridlocked match.
Yeah, well, Valu still taking a little bit of time out of Paris as they come down this straight. Brownie not too far away from DRS, though, on the Red Bull ahead of him. And, well, Valu is going to be looking to respond to the statement that Paris made last week in Hanoi, where, well, on that debut drive, an astonishing win for the Ferrari. Valu currently leading the standings. Will be wanting to make sure he asserts himself back at the top and keeps himself there.
And this train on Blotel, Domi, Dougie, It's always so intense as we come through this first section. Everybody looking for moves. Domi right now, he's looking at the inside of Blotel. Oh, he almost went through on that inside line, and I can't say that would have been a good idea because I spun doing it on Tuesday. But things are tight in that 4, 5, 6 lineup right now. ZZ9 2.6, 2.7 on the rear of them. We've got Yoda there, 3.2 away from 7th. Fraser, half a second just locked in with the Albanian.
Yeah, those two have just been locked together, but no battling, and well, sometimes that's what you want to see from, you know, a rival driver. They're both still there. Fraser knows that he can just get DRS every time on Yoda, and Yoda knows that, well, without battling too much, that they can keep their pace just a little bit higher than if they were constantly exchanging. And there's a big queue of cars behind them, Strift. These two are in the firing line. Alex Biddo already pitted for those hards that he's going to presumably take to the end. He's only, you know, a few seconds down the road, and Fraser and Yoda still yet to make their way into the pits. So both drivers will be very, very aware of that fact, and I think they're just trying to work together, despite the fact that they're not teammates, just keep themselves at as high a pace as possible. Although saying that, yeah.
Yeah, Fraser has other plans. He comes down the inside of the hairpin. Yoda says, "Okay, we're breaking the peace treaty." He says. Fraser's now on the inside. He's going to get this move done through 16. Yoda, however, will have DRS utilization as we say this, just ahead of them through turn 1, as we tried to see it last time. This time, Domi has that car alongside on the inside. Oh, and he's going to go through now around. Does Blotel hold this? He's trying hard to hold off that Ferrari. The move is not done for Domi. Wow, that was tight. That was tight. Meanwhile, Yoda, Fraser, they have not switched back positions.
Yeah, very, very nice defense from Blotel to keep Domi at bay. Unfortunately for Yoda, he can't say the same, but you know, these guys on aging hards, they don't have the race pace compared to everyone else. And you can see Biddo has caught 7/10 since we last checked in, and that wasn't too long ago. So they're costing just themselves time, no one else, and it's going to be hard for either of these two drivers to score points at the end of this one. Their only hope is that the hard tyres on the likes of Biddo, Brainstew, Michelangelo, and the rest of them die out, hit the cliff before the end of the race, and that would result in them maybe finding a few points. But right now, the strategies still playing a huge role as we're on lap 11 of 28. The fight for P4 getting very close to the hairpin, but again, no exchange of positions, and Valu's blinked, Strift. He is into this pit lane, getting off those starting mediums.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to see now. Will Paris and Brownie call this immediately, or are they just going to stay out and try to extend a little bit further? Blotel, 4.7 is the gap to these drivers on the mediums. He still has this train behind him in Domi and Dougie. And as we say at Valu, where is he going to drop out here? He has come out in 13th position. Excuse me, 14th position. Vexit just flew by him on exit.
Yeah, just outside of the points, but he'll be much faster than these guys at the end of the race, and a little bit faster now as well on these fresher hards. So you got to say it's looking like a strong strategy, but there's a lot of cars to overtake. There's 5 cars ahead of him that will be taking the hards to the end if all goes to plan. So Valu, a lot of work if he wants to continue to get the race win. And we'll have to wait and see where Paris and Brownie come out as well, and where their pit strategy drops them out, because you got to remember, Paris was ahead of the Red Bull, if memory serves me, whereas Brownie was catching him, and Brownie's lost DRS actually as a result of this. I think he was just within that 1 second gap, or at least very close to it on that Red Bull. Now 2.6 seconds behind Paris, definitely won't have DRS. Is the Ferrari gonna follow in suit? He is, and Brownie, well, he's staying out, Strift. The Williams going for a much longer stint on the starting mediums.
That's an interesting call from Brownie here. I don't know. Brownie's a driver where I just want to wait until the end of the race before I say anything about what he does, if you know what I mean. Because he does some outlandish stuff, but sometimes it really does pan out. Yoda, Fraser, 6 and 7 right now. Meanwhile, Paris is in. Where is he going to land? It looks like 11th, 12th. Where's Valu?
right behind him.
Oh, hello. Well, there's the fight for the lead of this race, ladies and gentlemen. Paris, Valu within a second, and this is exactly what Valu wanted. Brownie, well, he might have missed out. He might have missed out here. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I got to wait till the end of the race before I comment on what Brownie's done. We got Brainstew, however, hunting down Alejandro for 8th. Bido now on those one lap older tires has the Italian in his rears.
Yeah, I really like what Valu's done there, because not only has that brought him closer to Paris, but it's going to be harder for Paris to get away as well, because, well, there's traffic ahead. You just said it yourself. Bido, Brainstew, Microlander all fighting away for what is net P1 at this point, because the 7 cars ahead still yet to pit. You've got to expect Brownie will be coming in at the end of this lap. He's not. He's going against Drift on those mediums. Really taking those tyres to the end. Here goes Brainstew looking up the inside of Bido, but not going to find it. Paris, though, he's going to find the move on Shanghai. And, well, if Valu wants to get a move on as Shanghai slides through the corner, Fraser's into the pit lane as well. But Paris putting another car between him and Valu. These two, I think, not only is it going to be an interesting fight in this race, the championship as well. These two are going to be very fierce rivals throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Valu right now is not going to be thrilled about this, even remotely. Even remotely. Shenjie, not an easy driver to pass. Of course, there's a major rubber differential, which is good for Valu coming out of Sector 3. But if Shenjie is able to keep that DRS on Paris, and at the moment he will be able to do this, this is bad for Valu in the grand scheme. Especially if Paris starts getting into that traffic ahead.
Yeah, well, we've already seen in clear Shenjie. Speculation in the chat that maybe Brownie will go for a medium soft. I've heard that that's pretty much impossible around here, given the soft's tire degradation rates. If he's got a fresh set, well, he'd have to stretch those mediums at least another 6 laps minimum, I would think. So, very, very tough strategy. But if he can pull it off, like you said, well, there's nothing you can say until the end of the race to see if that plays out for him. Shenjie becomes the first driver to have a 3-second penalty in this race in 11th place.
He stepped in it coming out of the, coming into the long straight, realistically. Dougie, excuse me, it's actually Domi coming into the pit lane now. Valu, Shenjie, still wheel to wheel, coming through the hairpin. Oh, it's tight. Shenjie holding him still. 11th position. Oh, Valu is not going to be happy about the fact that he has this AlphaTauri in his way. So he's going to try and make short work of it once again, coming down on the inside now through turn 1.
Shenjie back.
He doesn't want to give this up even remotely. There's a little bit of a tap, a little bit of a wheel bang here. Valu cementing that position now in the 9th out of turn 4, but I don't think Shenjie is done. I don't think he's done here, but look at the damage. 1.4 seconds is the gap to Paris. Paris needs to clear Microlander here, but guess what? Microlander has one order right now coming out of that Red Bull garage. Hold up the Ferrari at all costs.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. Like you said, the damage, whether Shenjie's done or not, is pretty much done. Although Microlander might be putting in the teamwork play of the season because, well, he's brought Valu back into this DRS zone and detection range. And, well, Valu will just about have DRS on Paris, but you've got to expect that Ferrari to just breeze past the other Red Bull here. There's not a lot that Microlander will be able to do coming down this straight. He's going to have DRS on Brainstew ahead, and I think it might just be enough.
I think he might hold this Ferrari. Yeah, he's going to hold this Ferrari here. Paris, patient here. He knows the position he's in. There's not much he can do about it. Valu right now is still kind of dancing around that 1 second range. If Paris is able to do some short work through this first sector, it might work out very well for him. Brownie, meanwhile, he's come in. He's gone for the hards. So he will not be trying that soft strategy that we had thought could be possible. But look at where he's landed himself. 13th position, fresh hards albeit. But I think that had he pit with Paris, he might have just come out somewhere in that 8, 9, maybe 10 range. I don't know if this was the right call, but he will have a little bit of a sharper edge near the end of this one.
Well, if he'd have pit with Paris, he would have been side by side with Valu, because Valu was right behind. Well, it would have been a little bit further behind, but he would be, like you said, fighting for these points positions already, whereas now he's got a lot of cars to dispatch, but he is on much fresher rubber, and they will be fine until the end of the race. That's what he's got going for him.
There's something else that we're actually disregarding here. This entire grid's in a train. The entire grid's in a train. All the way down to Yoda. This isn't something we see too often on lap 16 of a race, but yeah, the entirety of this points grid is in a train behind that Williams. That Williams, well, coincidentally, is Yoda. He's won a race around China, and now you've got Brownie, his teammate, watching Freeware and Sandako go wheel to wheel, and I think he might even just get the pair of them. Paris and Microlander ahead of them. There's a big lockup from Paris. He gets that move done. Just behind, back to Sandako. Freeware, wheel to wheel out of the hairpin. Freeware gets squeezed. There's a snap out of Sandako. Brownie's right there to pick up the pieces. Wow, this is real racing coming out of this hairpin right now. Brownie is looking for blood.
Yeah, Brownie not able to capitalize yet, but Bruni just being patient. You can see Sindaku now going up the inside through turn 1. He might have got a little bit deep though. The AlphaTauri is going to have a look back up, and this is just costing Brownie all the time in the world. As much as he would love to get a benefit out of these two, they're just exchanging wheel to wheel. Brownie's just looking for a way past, but there isn't. Two cars going side by side through the opening sector. There's no way you're going to squeeze a third one through. Freeware right now holding on to P11 with all of his might, and it's a very valiant defense. Brownie's going to go for a late look up. Sindaku's inside, not going to find that either, but Sindaku not able to get past Freeware. Freeware has lost time to Tim as well, 1.6 seconds, so they are out of DRS range as well, so that means Brownie's going to have to look even harder, even when he gets past both of these drivers.
This is such a big issue now for Brownie. They were all in a train, but this fight between Sandako and Freeware has really thrown a cork in it for him. He needs to dispatch that racing point. He's about to dispatch that racing point, but meanwhile, up ahead now, Bitto, Brainstew, they're hunting down that Williams for second position, and Yoda is, of course, well, he's not going to give up easy. What's happened now? There's a yellow flag through Sector 3. Who's that? I believe it might have been Fraser having some kind of issue. It's the two Red Bulls now, 6 and 7 Microlander holding up Shenjie. You love to see all of this intensity. You absolutely love to see the intensity, and this was a race last season, Tier 1 action of MRL. It was one of the top 3 races of the season, and we're getting another absolutely intense grudge match here. Blotel, Domi now. We've seen these two do battle all day. Blotel, the Spaniard, moving ahead of the Hungarian. That is the Mercedes into 13th position, and he is on fresh mediums. If these drivers are able to catch up Brownie, I have to say Brownie is going to be in trouble here. Freeware has not been able to take that gap down to Tim that he lost in that fight with Sandako.
Well, if you want to know how close this grid is, you just need to take one good look at Dougie Falcons. He was 10 seconds in lead of this grid ahead of Yoda. He is now in 16th place after that pit stop, and Yoda is going to be a very similar story. The interesting one is when Paris starts trying to get past Brainstew and Bitto. Those guys will all be going to the end, but Paris 6 to 7 laps fresher tyres compared to Brainstew and Bitto. And that's where the end result is going to be found. Little Blotel on the fresh mediums, having a look on the inside into turn 11 on Brownie. Brownie now on those hards, because he pitted so late, he's in the same tyre sort of range as these guys who started on the hards and have switched to the mediums, which Brownie came off of on an extra long stint. Yoda actually gets overtaken by Bitto. Brainstew now going to have a look on the inside of the Williams. Oh. He's going to find the move. A bit of a clatter to get past, but he does make the move. You wouldn't be surprised to see Yoda hop into the pits here to go for the mediums to the end, but he's not. He is going to try the softs, I think, strip. It seems like he'd pit for mediums now if he was going to go for that yellow wall tyres. It's Paris going to have an answer to get past this slow-moving Williams. He's been overtaken twice. Is the Ferrari going to make it 3? He's going to go up the inside through turn 2. And Yoda's going to have the inside through turn 3, but Paris around the outside. The extra traction afforded to him with 13-lap fresher tyres is just going to make that a very, very nice-looking move.
Yeah, Yoda is starting to drop here. He's really, really squeezing that car onto the inside now. He wants to really hold off Valu. He wants to make sure Brownie is getting back into points here. And Brownie has some very fresh rubber, but it's not as easy as you'd think to overtake. Now he's got Blotel, Domi on his rear with these mediums. Bido, Brainstew, Paris, your top three right now. I have to say, into that hairpin, we saw Brainstew make a very, very late snap to the inside, getting a smooth move up and down. Yoda there, he left him the space, and he got that second position from him, and then it was downhill for Yoda as that Ferrari was just waiting for that opportunity. Yoda still will have DRS here, but Valu, I don't think it'll be too long before we see this Red Bull take Yoda here.
Yeah, whether it's on track or in the pit lane. Here, everyone comes down into the hairpin. Paris not going to go for the move on Brainstew. Here's the battle behind those. Shenjay making the move on the Red Bull. We thought maybe the Red Bull would be making an overtake, but it's his teammate getting passed by the AlphaTauri. Shenjay, 13 lap hold holds, a 3-second time penalty to his name. And with how close this grid is right now, Striff, that could cost him monumentally as Valu looks to the outside of Yoda coming down towards turn 1. Microland is looking to respond to Shenjay's move. And both Red Bulls have made a move so far. Let's hop back on board with Microlander, who might squeeze his way past Yoda as well, following his teammate Shenjay, though. With Microlander on the outside of Yoda, might find his way back through the inside on the Red Bull driver through turn 4. They're side by side. Yoda's in the way, though, of Microlander. Both going to look to try and get past Yoda. Yoda defending, but he can't pick both. So Shenjay going to find his way around the outside. Microlander struggling for traction. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Vexit behind in the racing point.
Yoda creating massive problems for this grid right now. He's still on his starting compound of tire here. Yoda has not pit in this race. He is the only driver not to pit in this race, and I have to say it's very similar to how he drove China last time we saw him in Tier 1. He had a very long stint, and it ended up winning him a race, so maybe he's playing it the same way. Here goes Blotel on the inside of Sindako. Sindako holding on to 12th position. Sindako right now, a big slide from the racing point. That's exposed. Blotel to Domi. He's through. Where's Dougie? Dougie is not close enough. Well, excuse me. He's just wheel-to-wheel with the Mercedes. Blotel, however, utilizing that DRS and battery to keep with the Ferrari, is going to move ahead of Dougie. Will Dougie have a look to the inside? I'll tell you who's having a look to the inside. It's Domi. There goes Dougie. It's a big exchange to the hairpin. Tons of cars. There's a little bit of debris coming off. Not entirely sure who that was. Meanwhile, Freeware now is in the 7th position as there is a pit coming out of Yoda. Yoda has called it. It's time to get off the hards, and I can only imagine he'll jump onto a set of softs. That promotes Brownie. Tim wheel-to-wheel through turn 1. Brownie on the outside. He's got Tim and Domi on his inside. There's a little bit of contact. There's a little bit of a spin. Everybody gets things back going round. Tim is missing that front left end plate right now. Dougie, Sindako right behind them. Wheel-to-wheel. Dougie into 13th. He is hunting down the Haas now ahead of him for 12th, and this grid is alive. Brownie, Domi fighting. Oh, here goes Blotel. The Hungarian not going to be happy about that. The Spaniard moves through, and now he's hunting down the German, and I have to say I am loving this race, Unicorn.
Yeah, Domi's just picked up a 3-second time penalty. It was a brilliant lap from him the last lap round, and this lap hasn't started out well. Obviously, that little bit of contact with Tim. Tim got spun back around, though, so he'll be thankful to whoever did that. So he was able to keep traveling in the right direction. I don't think he'll pit for a new wing at this rate. Sindaku having a look up the inside of him, though, into turn 11, and it looks like he might have just found that move very, very nicely done from the racing point, and points are still on the table for pretty much everyone inside the top, well, what is this, top 15, I would say. ZZ9's going to have a look at Tim, but for P6, it's Freeware. Microlander switches to the inside, just as Freeware was about to do the same. Shows the AlphaTauri on the outside, down into the hairpin. Microlander picking up a bit too much of the curb, tried to go a little too tight, lost a hell of a lot of speed, and that's going to see Freeware up into P6 behind his teammate. Microlander into the pit lane. Is he going to go for some softs to the end of this race and see if he can pick up maybe fastest lap?
That's a big gamble here. A big gamble. I don't know if that's a good call out of him. It's a couple of drivers getting in to the pit lane off those hards now. Microlander and Tim coming in. Tim more than likely getting that wing repaired as well. Bido, Brainstew, Paris, your top three. And I have to say the Ferrari on the freshest rubber is doing well at the moment to catch up with these two ahead. But he still has Valu, the Finn now, hunting him down in that Red Bull Shenjay. 1.1 is the gap. He's on the 16-lap-old hards. He's showing good pace despite the lap life on those tires, but it's just such a dynamic in this top 5 right now. Shenjay has that penalty, which is not going to be good for him near the end of this equation, especially considering how tight this grid is. Dougie, less than half a second to that Ferrari of Domi. Domi holding on to that final points position. but a 3-second time penalty as well.
Yeah, Shanghai should still be able to score points here, especially given the gap to Freeware behind. But Domi, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him to score a point here because of that 3-second time penalty and given the proximity of Dougie. And, well, Dougie's as close as it gets as they come down the back straight. And, well, the McLaren just going to breeze past the Ferrari. Is Domi going to try it later on the brakes around the outside? He is. And just a little bit of a lock-up sees him go a little bit deep, not able to defend the move from the McLaren. Ahead of them, Blotel and Brownie, they're exchanging. And Brownie doing very well to hold off the likes of Blotel. Domi as well, he's dropped down to Dougie Falcon.
Oh! Paris, sorry to interrupt you. He's looking at Brainstew. He got him on the inside now. He's looking at Bido already as well. He might have had an opportunity for both there. Where's Value in this equation? Still hunting. 4th position, Brainstew between him and the Ferrari now. Mercedes, Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Red Bull, AlphaTauri top 5 at the minute. Microlander in the pit lane has opted to retire the car. Very interesting coming out of that Red Bull garage. I'm not entirely sure what's gone on there.
Well, he realised no pace left on the hards, pitted the softs, and he's seen just how far back that put him on this grid. And oh my goodness, what's happened to Blotel there? A huge spin coming out of double left-hander, and he's had a problem with Dougie Falcons. The McLarens really not having their best day coming out of turn 10. Not quite sure what happened between the two cars there, but it's damage definitely on the McLaren. Blotel's missing a right end plate, I think. Dougie's missing a left end plate. Yoda picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's in P16, and that's going to make it very difficult for him to score points. But late drama here, Stu, as Paris and Bido exchange through the hairpin, and this could leave Brainstew able to get past Bido. Not quite close enough for the Alfa Romeo driver, but this race very, very...
Well, I have to say, Value is not going to be happy to have Brainstew and Bido ahead of him now. That's 2 cars of separation between him and Paris. Paris has taken both of those cars inside of 1 lap. Value has yet to dispatch one of them after 1 lap. So, could be trouble for the Red Bull here.
Yeah, he needs to get past the line.
Ooh, it's tight coming through turns 1 and 2 now. Dougie into the pit lane to get that wing changed over. We'll switch back to things as Value. He's nearly a second on the rear of Brainstew. I jumped on with Value, and it looked as though he had an issue.
Yeah, he's definitely dropped down a little bit. Not quite sure what's happening. He's on the fresher tyres. I don't think this Red Bull has any damage. We'll have to wait for the camera to just shake itself up and see if that front wing is damaged. Both end plates still attached, so... unless it's really minor scuff on the front of one of those foils, I don't think he's going to have any problems. But, yeah, not really seeing the benefits of the tyres compared to Bido and Brainstew. Like, you know, Paris, he's just tearing away. He's already broken the DRS gap to the cars behind, given those 7-lap fresher hards. But Value just really not seeming to find the same amount of pace out of the tyres that Paris is. Meanwhile, Brownie is on the rear of Freeware. And a very, very late lunge from him, late on the brakes. Can Freeware find his way back through on the inside? It looks like he can, but Brownie, an excellent drive out of the wide position, and he's going to find the place. Runs a little wide through the final corner, and now this is going to give Freeware an excellent run down into turn 1. They've got Vexit and Domi behind in the Racing Point and the Ferrari. Here's Freeware looking around the outside, the fuel warning light just flashing, but it shouldn't be a problem for him. But Brownie has picked up P6 and should stay there for at least the next little bit.
Well, I don't see Freeware getting him now. I think he had an opportunity to hold Brownie through that first section, but Brownie's starting to run away. I don't know if this is good for Freeware. Vexit's just sitting on him. Domi is there as well. This entire train behind them. Domi's looking at Vexit. Vexit closes the door.
Yeah, and Value's managed to catch back up to Brainstew, so whatever was troubling him seems to have been fixed in that Red Bull, and he'll be looking to try and get that Alfa Romeo down into the hairpin. Domi, though, still, like you say, all over the rear of this Racing Point, and the tyre differential is huge. Domi looks on the inside of 11, but Vexit Just a nicely defense around the outside of 11. Now coming through the right-hander, and Domi, he stuck his nose where it really couldn't fit, and that's a spin for the Ferrari. Just a little bit impatient, should have waited for the hairpin. Here goes Brainstew doing exactly the same thing on Biddo, and this is going to be excellent news for Valu behind, who again just seemed to drop off a little bit of the pace there. As Brainstew picks up P2 from the Spaniard in the Mercedes.
It is a very, very hard-fought battle for this race win right now, I have to say. I mean, Paris, he came from... Where did he come from on this grid? He came from 9th on this grid. He started on the mediums. Right now, Brainstew, he started this race in 2nd. He has made it back to where he began. Biddo, well, he started this race on pole position. So he wants that win back, but he's in 3rd at the moment. Valu, he started quite a ways back and made his way into 4th position. Ooh, there's a snap coming out of Valu. That's going to cost him time.
Yeah, it just seems to be really struggling in that Red Bull in these closing stages. Striff not quite sure what's gotten into him. He's seeing Brainstew get past Biddo, and you'd think at this point, you know, everyone would be saying, go on, push, get this car and put yourself into those podium positions as early as you can. Still a couple of laps left in the race for Valu, and he's still got the tyre advantage, but he doesn't seem to have the pace advantage that you would expect. And there's a yellow flag. Looks like Richie might have had a problem down through Sector 1. He's spun that McLaren, no damage, but those rears are going to be super, super heated. Going back up to the front runners, though, and can Valu get Bito here down into the hairpin? I think he's still just a little bit too far back. The Spaniard DRS on Brainstew, and Valu's getting very close, but not quite close enough. Meanwhile, Domi on the other Mercedes, he is going to be a little bit more successful there. Already side by side. Vexit, ZZ9 are exchanging as well. But it's the Ferrari up into 12th place, and ZZ9 has picked up 8th. As Vexit picks up a 3-second time penalty. Here goes Valu. He's finally got the Spaniard of Alex Biddo. He is up into P3 and puts himself onto that podium.
Beautiful, beautiful race we've had so far. I have to say it has not gone very well for the McLarens, and it's going horribly wrong for Richie as he's just full throttling his acceleration right now in Sector 2. I've been on board with him for about 3 minutes. It's very interesting stuff to see, but I'm glad that things are very, very tight right now as Vexit and ZZ9 here. This battle for 8th position. Look at them go.
They were side by side strip pretty much throughout that entire first sector, and very, very nice camera angles afforded to us Sky the game as well to get full glimpse of that glory. And well, ZZ9 on these 11 lap old mediums seems to be working out for him. Should be able to score just a few points for the Renault squad here. And Vexit with that penalty as well. A nice little safety net for him as well. Whether he can catch Freeway on those 19 lap old hards, we'll have to wait and see in these closing couple of laps. But yeah, looking like a strong points finish for him. And well, Vexit needs to be careful that he doesn't drop out of the points. Only his teammate behind him for P10. But he needs to make sure that he keeps a 3-second gap to Fraser and Domi as well. Or at least Fraser, because Domi's got that penalty as well. Meanwhile, Biddo very wide off of the corner. He's got a puncture.
Oh no. 20 lap old hards. Alex Biddo has a front left puncture.
And he's gonna keep
the Spaniard
driving.
has a puncture. He can't pit. It's the final lap of the race. The Spaniard, the Mercedes, the front left tire is gone. Oh no. No, 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 no. That is very, very bad news for the Spaniard. He's got the German of Freeware just sitting on him right now. Freeware's on 20 lap old hards as well.
I was going to say, Shanghai and Freeware both on these old hards as well. If you're an AlphaTauri engineer, you're going to be looking at this Mercedes and being very worried that the same could happen to their squad. ZZ9 picks up the place. Vexit will as well. And well, Alex Biddo might still be able to score just 1 point if...
I don't know.
I think it's very, very unlikely.
I don't know about that there, Unicorn. He's in big trouble. Big trouble here.
Valu's still very, very close to the rear of Brainstew. Still got a corner to find. Well, a couple of corners, but really just one excellent overtaking position. Brainstew might get DRS off of the back marker of Richie here. Let's see if that rear wing pops open on the Alfa Romeo. It doesn't. Sindaku picks up Bito as well. That puncture really costing him, but I don't think Valu's anywhere near close enough to Brainstew for the race or at least the P2, not the race win. That is going to go to this man right here. Paris, what a race from the Ferrari. He picks up P1. P2, Valu's going to try it down to the line, but it's too close to the final point. Fraser picks up the point from Alex Biddo as well. Domi gets past him, and Brownie, he does pick up P4 at the end of this drift, so his strategy not working out too badly for the Williams. Both AlphaTauris making it to the end. No punctures on those hards. ZZ9 in 7th. The two racing points. Again, very old hards for them. No punctures present in 8th and 9th for Vexit and Sidaga respectively. And Fraser picks up the final point for the Renault squad. So double finish for quite a few of the teams here, Strip.
Very, very unique finish from this race, man. Paris. Wow. What a drive from these top three. We had Paris, Brainstew, Value, your podium finishers here. Tier 1, round 4. It was Shanghai, and I have to say that was a stellar race.
Well, Shanghai has really delivered some excellent drama this week. Value picks up driver of the day. It was a hard-fought battle for him. Not able to squeeze P2, but well, we'll see what he thinks of that in just a moment in an interview. But there it is, the podium. Paris, for the second week in a row, picks up P1. And that's going to do wonders for him in the championship, even despite being a couple of weeks late to the party.
What a race. I'm looking at all the data now. I'm trying to get an idea, trying to get a full picture now after that fantastic race. Paris from 9th to 1st, Brainstew. He started on that front row. He finished in 2nd position. Value from 13th to 3rd. Wow. Brownie, 11th to 4th. Just outside of the top step today. I don't know if he might have just been there. He might have just been there if things had gone different in his pit strategy. Shenjie, he dropped off to 5th from 3rd. We had Freeware now. 10th to 6th, ZZ9 16th to 7th, Vexit from, well, he's unfortunately lost a position here, 7th to 8th, Sindako, he dropped a position as well. Fraser in the Renault, it is a double points finish for the Renault squad. He went 19th to 10th in this one. Very, very good drive from the Renault squad. I'm sure you can agree, Unicorn. Biddo, he started on pole position. He took a puncture heading into the final lap of this race. He was doing well, but it was not in the cards for him today. Something happened there. Maybe the Mercedes squad will review. Domi, 15th to 12th. We had Blotel, 17th to 13th today. You have the Haas of Milan, who started in 6th. He's unfortunately finished in 14th. Yoda, 18th to 15th here. Tim dropped into 16th from 5th. Dougie, 20th to 17th. Richie from 12th to 18th. So he went backwards as well. The McLaren's not having a good Tier 2 and Tier 3. Well, I won't say Tier 2. They got a podium yesterday, but today in Tier 1, they were not here to play like in the previous races. Microlander in 19th position. He had a very unique case. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Dason rounds out the grid. He had the very, very unfortunate retirement early, coming together with Richie. So that will wrap up the debrief for this one, Unicorn.
Yeah, super, super crazy race, and well, there's going to be a lot to talk about in these interviews, I think, with these three drivers. All very different races with what we've just seen it. And China just, it doesn't disappoint, does it, Striff? And Brownie as well. We're not going to get an interview with him being 4th, but you know, we were both saying that strategy, a little bit unorthodox, but it worked out in the end. No safety car, no VSC either. I don't think we saw either here this evening. So lovely clean race from the Tier 1 guys as well, and that's what we love to see here.
Yeah, we're going to get those interviews right away. Paris, Brainstew, and Value. Let's take a look. Joining us now in the commentary booth, the 3rd place finisher, Value. Welcome back to the commentary booth. Very, very dynamic, very intense race today. How was that for you? Congratulations.
Well, the qualifying was boring because first 15 minutes was useless, but then I got out on the mediums. On the first run, I had good second sector split, but then I just bottled the first corner. The Last sector went aborted, went again. Again, same corner, lost 3/10, but had to finish the lap and then had the fastest first and second out of the medium runners. And
Well,
then restart, tried to follow Paris. There was few cars between that wasn't ideal, but I think I did a pretty good job the first stint, and then the second was just impossible because I had high wings and the guys ahead had pads, so they have OP exits.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I understand you completely. Unicorn, anything on your end, sir?
well, we saw you sort of struggling just a little bit with the pace in those last couple of laps. Is there, anything that was going on? We saw Paris, make a lot easier work of the two cars between you. You just seemed to struggle to find it. Was it just that your tyres just were dropping off a little bit, or what was going on in those last few laps?
Yeah, it wasn't the tires. I was so much faster in the corners than the guys ahead, but I just asked Brains to. He had 2.8 wings, I had 3.10, so I just didn't have the straight line speed to overtake.
Well, obviously, coming into this race, you were leading the championship. I do think you're still leading the championship, but Paris making a beeline for your top spot. Are you worried that you're gonna see him overtake you in the coming races, or do you think there's stronger tracks ahead for you?
Yeah, the mid part of the season is gonna be stronger for me, but I just need to sort out my qualifying and I'm good.
All right. Well, congratulations on the podium, Valu, and I'm sure we'll see you here again. It's 4 podiums for 4, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, next up, it's going to be P2 for Brainstew. Brainstew, you started P2, you finished P2. How did that race go for you?
Hello everyone. Very good. It was quite hard to overtake Beat at the start because it was very fast. But towards the end, the one lap freshest tire made the difference, and he also got a puncture, so very unfortunate. But I was happy to keep behind Valu, and P2 is quite a strong result.
Yeah, you did well to hold Valu off at the end, but going back to the start of the race, like you said, Biddo got an excellent start off the line, but the top 3, you all just seem to spread out just a little bit. Were you not trying to be aggressive, just to preserve for as long as possible on those softs? Obviously, we know they die quickly. What was, obviously you were tearing away from the rest of the field, but what was going on in those opening few laps between the 3 of you?
Yeah, of course, we are taking care a bit of the tires, but we can't take care too much because the guy behind you will try to overtake you. So you have to be careful all the time.
Yeah, you did really well fending off Valu at the end there. He was saying he was faster through the corners, but just struggling to get past. Was there, were you worried that you were going to lose out on this P2 from the Red Bull behind?
Yeah, he told me in the waiting room that he had higher wings, so it was harder for him to overtake on the straights. So I was just faster there, and I could keep him behind.
Well, congratulations. A nice haul of points for you. How are you looking for the next couple of upcoming races? Are you more confident, less confident around those tracks?
Well, their tracks I quite like, so I'm quite looking forward to them.
Well, congratulations on your first podium of the season, and I'm sure we'll see you back here at some point in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Alright, and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, race win number 2, Paris, 2 weeks in a row. How are you feeling?
That one took a lot of strategy and planning throughout the entire race. So been ecstatic, really.
Well, we saw you qualify on the mediums, and I personally was expecting to see more mediums on that starting grid. Were you always going to start on the mediums, or was it just sort of a reaction to see what everyone else was doing?
I was definitely going to start on the mediums, but in hindsight, it would have helped if I did a few sighter laps and on invalidated laps on the softs to realize what the dry grip was. But thankfully, I connected the lap in the end and managed to get inside the top 10.
Well, like you said, picking up P9, the only driver on the mediums to do so, and obviously that gave you a little bit of help. But we also saw, you know, that strategy. You were started to carve your way through the traffic just a little bit better than all the other drivers on a similar strategy. Just how was that going against all the other drivers on, you know, the fresher tyres?
Those guys, well, coming through the traffic, it takes a lot of experience to know when to be aggressive and when to be passive, because at any moment you make a wrong move, you can end up risking your entire race. I feel like I've got the experience over the other guys on the grid, and that's what allows me to sort of slice through the grid on fresher tyres like that.
Yeah, and we saw it in the closing stages as well. You know, we saw Valo, we've just spoken to him. He seemed to struggle just a little bit more getting past. He said he was struggling with the, you know, the setup and stuff. At the end, you just seemed to fly away. You know, those closing laps, was there any doubt in your mind, or were you just, you know, fully focused on just picking up the race win in those closing laps?
Once I got past Bitto and Brain Stew, I knew they were on old hards and we have the fresh hards, and I wasn't pushing too much behind those guys. I was letting them sort of pull us along. But once you make it past those guys, all the tyre performance kicks in, and it's just about making sure you do clean lap after clean lap, not picking up any warnings, and coming home with the win.
Yeah, well, it worked out this evening. Obviously, 2 for 2 in the last couple of races. How are you looking to Zandvoort? Do you think you can make it 3 in a row?
Well, I hope so, but obviously nothing ever goes to plan in racing, so you never know.
Yeah, well, a big congratulations. You've really made your mark already on Tier 1, so I'm sure we'll see you in the commentary booth for an interview just in, you know, probably next race, if not in, you know, one of the closer rounds as well.
Thanks, man.
All right, and that just about wraps everything up here. We've, you know, had some astonishing races around China, and Tier 1 no different. A very, very dramatic race. We've just seen a lot of different strategies come into play, but that is it for tonight's action. You can catch some more MRL action. It'll be Sunday morning for us in the EU, but it's the evening over in the Asian Pacific region, which is what APAC is for, so be sure to tune in for that one. F2 as well in the evening, same time as all our tiered action. But that's it from us. Be sure to check out our partner, the amazing Next Level Racing. They've got beginner all the way through to entry level racing rigs over on their website, !NLR in the chat if you want to check that out, or join the amazing community we've got, !Discord, to get yourself over there. Race highlights and the full race replay will be available on our YouTube channel. But as always, we're going to leave you with the outro and then raid an awesome member of the F1 racing community. So thank you everyone for tuning in and watching Tier 1. What an amazing race it was, and we'll see you in the next one.